I am Liyanne Marie, and I am a casting director here in the London, UK, but also cast, internationally, worldwide. And I have now been casting for vertical dramas. I think it's coming up to nearly 2 years. It's definitely over like a year and a half or nearly 2 years. So I did my first vertical drama casting, yeah, with Onset Octopus Production, who brought me on as a casting director. So I was the first UK casting director to actually get involved in casting for vertical dramas over here. So it's been a really interesting journey for me.
How did you first get involved into casting your first vertical?
Yeah, so because I cast here in the UK, I cast for commercials, so TV commercials, films. I've cast for theatre and other forms of media. I'd worked on a film with a producer, which is Ben Pengilly from Onset Octopus, we'd worked very well together on a feature film, and he was casting for the first vertical drama here, and had reached out to me to ask if I would come on board to cast. And I think at first I kind of got involved and helped cast the leads, which was in the Mafia Lovers kind of vertical drama. And I think at first, when I first got into it and I got the script, I was a bit, not even confused, but I was a bit like, oh, what is this? Like this script, I had to read it quite a few times to kind of really understand like the quick pace, the levels of intimacy in the script, the BL vibes. And I was like, okay, and this is a lot. And I think as a casting director, any kind of script or anything we get, we have to take the time to kind of go through it, read it, understand the characters. So I think my first vertical drama, I think when I cast, I was really trying to understand what does the client want, because as a casting director, that's kind of what we're here for. With that kind of middle person between the production agency actors and to get the right person for the right roles. So it took quite a lot of work, but then I just got really intrigued into what this format was, and then Mafia Lovers did so well, and then I began to just be involved more and cast more back to back. And then what I've been doing here is I found when I first started casting them is our society here didn't understand what they were, and agents were particularly not interested in putting actors forward for these jobs. The fees and stuff like that weren't great, so I had a real struggle in the beginning trying to get what I thought were good actors to be a part of these vertical, drama productions.
How do you solve the problem?
I did have a struggle. I think what it takes, it's like anything that is change for us as humans, we can kind of, if we don't understand it, we'll kind of want to just go, we're either going to be in it or we're not. And I think for here, especially in the UK, there wasn't the demand for it as such. So a lot of the actors, didn't know what a vertical drama was. So it meant that as I was casting, I was educating. So I was also, speaking to agents, giving like some workshops and talks to actors so they understood how to tape for the verticals, because it's very different taping for a vertical drama than it is maybe like I don't know, a feature or a piece of theatre. There's some slight differences. So I think it just took a lot of communication, a lot of trust as well. And this is the thing with having sometimes a casting director involved in these. We have a huge network. We have such a huge network of talent that go from agents to, people that we've street cast, to models, to, actors, graduates, we have such a vast network. So, and people will trust us with what we're doing. So it was something that took me a little bit of time to educate actors, educate agents. I had a big meeting with Spotlight here, which is our massive casting database platform, which, didn't understand what these kind of vertical drama formats were. Were they okay to put on the platform? You know, if we were going to put briefs out, you know, were they safe to do so? So it was a lot of like skeptical pushback at first. And then what happened was I came across a massive pool of actors who knew all about the vertical drama world. And you know, they were keen, so keen. Like, you know, my Instagram would go crazy, or, you know, I'd get emails. Um, and they knew more about this vertical drama world and they were keen to be involved. They were keen to act in them. And I was like, I need to do more of my research now to say to kind of really understand what this format is and how these actors that have said, like, there's a massive pool of actors that know about it and want to be involved and they're doing them. And I was like, where are you? And I just started to kind of reach out more and, you know, collate more of a database of actors that understood what the demand was and what you needed as an actor to be involved in one of these, because it's not for everybody, you know, so then it's not a career choice that every actor would also make.
Why do you see that? It's not a career for every actor.
I think because and that's from them, that I think for some actors they haven't understood what the benefits are for them as an actor. So um they will maybe more want to focus on like TV commercials because the money is very good, you know, so the fees are quite high. In vertical dramas, the fees are still not as high as we'd like them to be for talent. And that's obviously, you know, as a whole creative production, I think it's under constraint in whole from crew to cast as well. Um, but I think they didn't understand, you know, I think the quality of some of them in the beginning, they didn't want to be seen on screen. So, but I feel like now the quality is just elevating. You know, the scripts are getting so much better. And I've just tried to encourage actors to get involved, to tape, to be seen because it's work and I feel like vertical dramas as well for actors, they're like real master classes. And I say that to them because I'm like, you're doing like up to 13 pages of script a day. Like this is amazing for your toolbox as an actor. This can only be a benefit to you to work on set, to work at this fast pace, you know, to really build yourself as an actor. And I think like when I cast the Pride and Prejudice one, our two lead actors, Conan and Jasmine, you know, that has really helped, you know, their career. And they have gone on and done so many more verticals. Um, and I suppose what I didn't understand is the fan base that's associated with vertical dramas. And this is can only be a benefit for actors. There's a huge fan base. So, you know, and they want to see real, you know, real emotion, natural performers on screen. And if you can deliver that as an actor, it's only going to benefit you in the long run and then prosper into a beautiful career and then even work maybe more consistently in vertical dramas or any other form of media.
What's
Mm.
the difference between taking a tape for TV or films and verticals?
So in the beginning, as a casting director, I was really passionate when I when I started casting for verticals was it was all about the acting, which is huge. And it's a huge part, but there was another side of it that it was, you know, the presentation of somebody, the presence on screen. Because everything is so immediate, there it needs to be kind of like, I don't know, I needed to make sure performance were like quite powerful quite quickly. So for actors that are taping, I always say to them, it's about that first, you know, 15, 30 seconds. How can you capture us? You know, how can you, you know, use your emotional intelligence or your emotional like vocab to show us what you can do on screen? And I think at first myself and even actors, we weren't understanding that. You know, over here, in the UK, I feel like we don't always have the actors that not all the time present themselves extremely well. And what I mean by that, it's small things like, you know, comb your hair or, you know, have a little bit of makeup on if you're a female, look presentable. And I was finding that some of our UK actors were not doing that in tapes. Because we have a slightly different slants on things. We want things a bit more natural. So some of our UK actors, just do tapes that are very natural. Maybe not as much makeup or, the hair, and we like that natural look. But I had to kind of switch the narrative and be like, guys, you need to present yourself on screen, like a little bit like how we do for commercials. So TV commercials, they're instant. It's your facial expressions, it's your, eye line, it's what you say maybe in one sentence that can sometimes book you a TV commercial. So what I found, there were some similarities in that what we need to see in a TV commercial, someone's look, someone's presence on screen, is how people need to tape. This is not just reading a script. This is, you putting yourself emotionally in that character rather than just reading the script and, doing a performance. And I did get, a lot of times actors will do a lot of overperforming, which is sometimes needed. There are, in some of the vertical dramas, we do need the actors that can do the a bit over exaggerated, overacting, which some of the UK actors didn't find as natural to do. So it's for me as a casting director, it's really been trying to educate the agents, educate actors, like, if you want to tape for these vertical dramas, this is kind of like how you should be doing it. And for me as a casting director, I feel like it's important for me to do that because it's helping people get work. And there are a lot of creatives, actors, crew that have not had a lot of work, for quite a long time. And the vertical drama space is really opening up a lot of opportunities for many of us, even including myself, casting for these and, having great success in some of the verticals that I've cast. It's very rewarding to see the actors, go on and do very well and then start. Maybe I see them sometimes appear in other vertical dramas that I haven't cast, and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is what it should be.
Why do you see some acting should be overacted and why some should be natural in
I
vertical?
think Yeah, I think because it's such, it's real emotional in such a short amount of time, isn't it? So it's really, certain parts need to be a little bit more dramatic. And I kind of see it sometimes in, when you go to the theatre, you need to have a different performer than when you watch like maybe a TV series where you're taking time to get to know that character. You don't have that time in the vertical dramas. You want that screen presence and that instant, the instant attraction from the audience. You want the audience to kind of either fall in love with that person or hate that person. So it needs to be like a real intense acting. And when I say like overacting, I don't even mean like sometimes really over the top. It just needs to have that overly emotional kind of acting so that it can be seen and felt from the other side of the screen. So they don't have to work it out themselves, like,
How do you spot that a talent that really connect to short drama storytelling?
I think for me, it took me a little while to kind of understand this, and I obviously work very close with the director, whoever's on the vertical drama production, the clients, and it's really understanding what their vision is as well, because they know what they want and they know the look they want at times. So for me, it's as long as I bring a lot of options for people that I feel could deliver that role, and look the part. But always will throw in some other options as well because I feel that that's important to, in casting. For example, I don't think we're there yet with diversity. A lot of like the ethnicity of roles is still quite the same. But I'm hoping over time with the demand and the change and the UK kind of demand for this kind of format, then the storytelling and the roles will become more diverse, so it becomes more relatable for even our society.
Let's pause for a second. Imagine you are in a crowded marketplace. Vendors selling cakes, jewelries, all kinds of things. And you are one of the vendors trying to sell a story. What kind of story will you tell? And more importantly, how do you keep people stop listening and actually pay? That's the narrative logic of short drama. I explain this in my book, Short Drama Writing 101. Write what platforms want. It's available on Payhip, Amazon, and Google Playbooks. Now let's back to the video.
Have you noticed any changes in how actors are being cast in short dramas over the past years?
Yeah, I feel like we initially began very aesthetic. So it's very about a look of somebody in the beginning and not really the acting. And I used to really push for acting as well as a good look, you know. And I feel in the last year, I think that is changing. I feel like you know, even clients, producers, directors are seeing now the acting needs to be a huge part of this as well, because you could have somebody that looks absolutely beautiful and is, you know, beautiful on screen. But the acting is not there, and I think that the audience are not silly. They want to feel like they relate to this person, or they want to feel like this is their dream or fantasy of being someone like this. So I do feel that at times that in the beginning was more about the initial look of somebody, so say like, you know, model looking people. Whereas now we're moving into an era of more the acting is really important, because, you know, if you don't have an actor that can deliver at a fast pace, you know, emotionally led narrative story, then it's not going to come across well on screen. So you kind of want a bit of both. You want an amazing kind of actor that can deliver with an also an amazing look, which is going to suit whatever character, you know, we want on screen. Your CEO, your billionaire, you know what the some of the roles that are already in the mix.
For a actor from maybe film background or an actor never act before, wants to get involved into short drama industry, what kind of suggestion will you give it to him or her?
I would say really enjoy it. I feel like for me, I've had majority of the feedback that I get from actors is really positive. You know, the working on set with the production teams has been an amazing experience for them. I think as well because it is quite fast paced, you know, usually done within 8 days shoot or something. You know, there's no time for any kind of messing around on set. It's really like a focused environment, a creative environment, and a really fun environment because so it's so fast paced. So I would always say to any actor, you know, don't not enjoy the whole process. Understand it, you know, be prepared for on set, you know, things can change. So know that script inside and out, you know, just in case dialogue changes or they want you to, you know, slightly change the kind of script or, you know, do something slightly different and keep quite open-minded because I do feel there's a lot of potential. Like I recently just worked on casting a vertical, and I had to cast for talent in LA and talent in Italy. Even just the difference in, you know, the American agents and actors and their knowledge of vertical dramas and how to present themselves in a self-tape or even on Instagram, like how the actors are presenting on Instagram, was so different to actors that were in Italy. So, you know, I feel as well for actors, it's also a time to, you know, really understand how you are marketing yourself, you know, and whether that be through your agent or whether it be on your own if you've not represented, but how you're marketing yourself as well, so that when we are putting you forward for these jobs, you know, you can be kind of seen and you know what you're doing on social media or how you're presenting your profile. And just enjoy them because I think they're fun jobs to do.
How will you suggest to presenting themselves on Instagram or social accounts?
So, for example, I have these talks with actors, and I do feel so. A lot of the time, and this is happening across all forms of casting. Clients may ask for social media handles of actors. And while it's not an essential tool to have, if you do have it as an actor, it's really good to be mindful about what you are posting on social media. And if you want your social media to represent who you are as an actor, then you have an account that does that. So be mindful of what you're kind of sharing on social media, or how you're presenting yourself on social media. How do you want to be seen as an actor on there? And you can have a personal one, and then you can have a business one. You could, if you want to keep your business, personal one with your friends, and, taking pictures of food that you're eating that day, or places you're going, but then have one that's about your acting, like certain shots that you take, or certain short clips of things that you've been involved. um that to me really really helps. And I find as well that I've noticed the vertical drama actors that I've worked with that are doing really well, they have a presence on social media, and they engage with audiences, and they engage with the fans in a really positive way. So it's being mindful that you're also responsible for maybe fans or audiences, and how you come across in that, because you've just been on screen presenting yourself as this, whichever role you may have done. um and then if you then come on social media, and and an audience or a fan likes something or engages with you, how do you respond to that? It's about being quite positive and engaging in a good positive way as well.
That was a really good suggestion. So right now in North America, I found out most short dramas still dominated by CEO romance. So what kind of stories do you think will resonate with maybe Europe or North American audience?
Yeah, I feel like, what, we haven't, I suppose they're quite similar, all of the themes that go across them. So I think for us, there's sci-fi, I mean romance, psychological thriller, maybe having even more representation of, like, I don't know, a powerful, I don't know, boss woman or something like that. So even some other female-led, stories, even tapping more into our LGBTQ, communities, and making stories, I think, that would relate to wider audiences, um, and different cultures as well. I think would be a great way to go, because I do feel like, for me, I always say, I feel like that vertical dramas or short dramas, for me, I don't think they're just a trend. I think they are like, I feel like they're like this new modern chapter of like storytelling. People will read books in bed and stuff like that, or on the train. Whereas now you're going around and you're seeing people are, on their phones watching these at a quicker pace, traveling, commuting from home to work. They haven't got as much time, so they want to kind of get all these quick episodes. So if they were stories that were relatable, I think, and just show a little bit more, yeah, diversity and inclusivity, so that more audiences could get involved, I think that would be great.
From your observation, do you
Mhm.
think the way female leads are portrayed in short dramas has any issues for improvement?
I I do feel, I think, like anything, I think there's always room for an improvement. And I think for me, as a woman, even working in the industry, we always have a struggle a little bit more in the creative spaces. And whilst I think these short dramas are opening doors for us as women, I've worked with some incredible, writers, women writers, women producers. So, but I do feel that some of the script writing, it can feel at times that, you know, there is a similarity across, like, the stories of the woman, and the female kind of characters, sometimes, on the intimacy side, or some of the more, uh, slaps, there's quite a lot of, kind of these things which I know as well. We've worked closely, like the director, myself, the director will work closely with client and producer as well to at times if things are like really, really inappropriate, it's like, can there be some dilution of these like certain scenes? Because you also have to remember these are actors, but we are also expecting quite a lot from them for a fee that is quite low. And so when you are expecting, a woman to, be slapped 10 times in a script, or be put in certain intimacy scenes, this also should warrant a level of fee to support what skill this takes. This isn't, you have actors that are involved in these intimacy scenes, and they're paid a decent amount of money to be able to do these. So when we are asking for actors to do this at such a low budget, it can be difficult, and especially if females are seen to be in certain roles, it can be uncomfortable for the actress as well. I will be honest with you, I have had actors, both male and female, that have turned down roles because of the script writing, or the theme across the story. Um, so yeah, I think there's still some improvement, most definitely, in those areas, in
Mm.
a sensitive way. Yeah, most definitely.
If you were like a writer, you create a female character for a short drama, what kind of female character could it be?
I mean, I'm quite like that unapologetic like woman, like, female, I don't know, a female led, quite a powerful, like bold woman. Like I don't know if you know the character Arabella in I May Destroy You, over here, Michaela Cole's series. But or like, for me, I would want someone, a character that's a real bold woman as well, that is, I don't know, just brilliant and just inspires, other women. And that doesn't mean a male character can't just be as inspirational or bold in the story. But, women go through so many things. It could be motherhood, there's so many things I think as a female character we could portray. So I think that's quite exciting, because I think for females there's no limit to what a woman is capable of doing. So I think I'd want a real, like, yeah, boss female, like bold, brilliant, like just takes risks.
You mentioned about like short drama open doors for you. Do you
Yeah.
think female like short drama open doors for other creators, female creators?
Yeah, most definitely, because I think for women especially, like, we are very emotionally intelligent. So, and I think you need a lot of that in short dramas. Like, so, I think there's so much room for, female creatives in this space, when it comes to writers, producers, female directors. I've had the opportunity to work with a wonderful female director on a short drama. And I think that we just get it in a slightly different way as well. I think because of how we see things in an emotional, intelligent way. So I think there's definitely room for lots more female creatives in this space. Even as a casting director, there should be more casting directors involved in casting for these, because we have an understanding on both production, but also for the support and the protection of actors. So we are kind of, we're doing as much as we can to make sure that the actors, that one, the client gets what they want, but also the actors have a great experience and are paid fairly for it as well. So yeah, even more casting directors getting involved, more writers, um, more producers. Yeah, I want to see a lot more female directors as well.
So you mentioned about advantages. Have you encountered any challenges in short drama industry as a woman?
I think women, we always still face challenges, because I suppose we're not always. as visible, you know. Um, and I think for as a female casting director, I can only talk from that kind of angle. We are probably one of the first roles that a client or somebody cuts because, they may not feel the need to have a casting director on board. They may want to do the casting in-house. So I suppose for me, at times that can be a challenge because I will always push for you to have someone like me on board because I'm just going to take full responsibility of all the casting, and you're not going to have to worry about all the heavy administration that comes with it as well. So, but I do think, as from a female perspective, casting director, yeah, I'm probably the first one that they go, no, not in the budget. We don't need her. So I suppose that's been a challenge because then, even though there's consistent short dramas being made, there's not consistent casting directors. And as a female, I'm not seen in all, as many as maybe I should be.
If you need to define short drama, how will you define it? And what's the essence
Oh,
of short drama?
for me, short dramas, they are emotionally led, like narrative stories. They have a lot of cliffhangers, lots of moments needed for that. They're powerful, impactful storytelling on screen in a short space of time, and they connect with, or they should connect with audiences instantly.
The essence, the core of short drama.
I think to really capture the heart of audiences, I think capture the hearts, take people away from maybe their reality of day-to-day life. Get them lost in a world of, you know, either dream, reality, fantasy, whatever it may be, but maybe, either take them away from what their reality is, or give them kind of an essence of, like, have a reflection on what life is really happening for you, and look at what others are experiencing, going through, and how they can get through it. So I feel like it's yeah, hopefully that I've kind of narrowed that down in some sort of essence.
You mentioned about the taking their audience away. So do you think all the stories or short dramas should be a good ending?
That's the million-dollar question. I'm not too sure. I mean, because life doesn't always end in a good way, does it? But I think there's also an element of I don't think they should always end, because that's not always reality. But it's to be fair, I don't know. I don't know if it should be that it should always end nicely, because I think there should be elements of some, and then there should be elements of, like, some that it doesn't end the way that we would maybe like it to, because that's kind of also reality, isn't it? That's life.
The future of short drama is.
Do you know what? Like I said before, I feel they're a new chapter of storytelling. And I do feel, if because the demand and the success for them in China and the US and even Australia, and now coming to Europe, I do think if the quality gets better of the productions, if the writing is just it doesn't get better. I don't think it's that it gets better, but it's just more relatable for wider audiences. Then I feel that this format of storytelling is here to stay. I do feel that they have less time to sit and watch a whole TV drama series as much. There is still the demand for that, so we're not taking nothing away from TV drama series because they're amazing as well. But I think there's also a demand, or the option of people wanting to choose to watch something at a faster pace because of limited time right now. Like, I don't know, everyone seems a lot busier in their lives than we used to. And I think nowadays, I mean, I speak to friends, and they will be watching a TV series, but they will get frustrated that they're having to wait until next week for the next episode. So I just feel like our society is demanding a little bit more of a faster pace. And if, as I said, if the stories get more relatable for wider audiences, then this could just be on every single person's handheld device. And and the demands, yeah, has the potential to be there and provide lots more work for our creatives and actors. I would just say if there's any advice to give some actors out there, and if they want to cast in these short dramas, vertical dramas, it's really about them understanding about how to be, natural, quick, and real